the months leading up to the assault, Churchill personally studies many of the ingenious devices created to help the landing forces. In his bathtub, he tests the principal engineering of an artificial harbor for transport ships at Normandy. One highly imaginative but impractical concept is the use of man-made icebergs as aircraft carriers. But all of this work won't matter if the Germans are waiting in force for the Allied landing. The Allies have only one shot at storming the beaches. The Germans must be convinced that the invasion will take place at the Pas de Calais. Deception will be the greatest weapon. Central to Operation Bodyguard is the London Controlling Section, masters at creating intricately elaborate hoaxes. They use counter-espionage as a key element in the operation. German spies in Britain are under orders to pick up any signs of preparation for invasion. Their task is not difficult. Some 2 million American, British, and Canadian soldiers are based in southern England. Millions of tons of supplies are being moved around. Thousands of military vehicles are parked on roadsides or in fields. It's hard not to notice that something is happening. But in one of the biggest coups for Operation Bodyguard, all of the major German spies in Britain are working for the British as double agents. Tracked down and confronted, many German spies were either executed or turned. German intelligence is being fed massive amounts of false information. Colonel Roger Hesketh recalls how important these agents were to the Allied landing plans.
Because there are two ways of conveying a false plan to the enemy. One is, which I was responsible for, was what we then called special means. And that meant any form of control leakage. Well, control leakage simply means telling the story verbally, and passing the message around. And you could do it through diplomatic channels. You could do it in many ways. But in our case, we did it almost entirely through the German agents who we had taken here and turned round, so they were working for us instead of the enemy. And in that way we divided the story between them and passed it along.
The double agents are run by a section of MI5 under the control of the Double Cross Committee. One of their leading agents is Wolf Dietrich Schmidt, codename Tate. He is caught by the British in 1940 within hours of landing by parachute in the countryside near Cambridge. Tate spends the next 4 years sending misleading information back to Germany, including reports of bogus gatherings of troops in different parts of the country. Another double agent is a Spanish journalist named Juan Pujol Garcia, codename Garbo. Garbo invents an imaginary network of 30 sub-agents that bring him information. An enormous task pulled off by sheer genius. Sarah Bishop, one of Garbo's assistants at MI5, remembers the complexity of this fictitious network.
All the agents were imaginary. None of them existed. There were 7. And quite a lot of them had sub-agents. So it was a notional network. You had to remember or keep a record of where they were all supposed to have been so that they could work together and coincide. They all had their own characteristics, and some information could be sent by one agent but not by another, because it'd be the sort of thing that he would never find out or be interested in. They each had their own sphere of work. And as they weren't there at all, of course, it would be easy to get them mixed up. The agent in Liverpool was too well placed, so he had to be got rid of somehow or other. So he died, and his obituary came in the local paper. But of course he'd never been there in the first place.
Garbo is busy in the Dover area sending false reports. He even warns his controller in Madrid to beware of Allied tricks. With tongue-in-cheek, he says, "It is deplorable that those in Germany should give credence to the great majority of them." Hitler is so impressed with the quality of Garbo's information that he awards him the Iron Cross. He never realizes that he has given his country's highest medal of honor to a British spy. There are other key figures engaged in the art of sabotage. Two Norwegian double agents are given the codenames Mutt and Jeff. Together, they send phony reports to Germany about a phantom army based in Scotland that is part of a plan to invade Norway. They cannot disguise the fact that the Allies are planning to invade France. But they can suggest the Allies are also preparing to attack other parts of Hitler's empire. This part of the scheme is called Operation Fortitude. It is a mass deception, with hundreds of thousands of imaginary soldiers scattered throughout Britain. One of the most elaborate hoaxes of the war. By late 1943, the Nazi High Command is expecting an Allied invasion across the English Channel to France. But they are not sure if this is the only assault the Allies are planning. They suspect the one on France is a diversion for a more serious assault elsewhere. Operation Fortitude North, part of Operation Bodyguard, exploits this Nazi fear. The Allies draw up a detailed plan in which two imaginary British divisions land at Narvik in northern Norway. They hope to attract German divisions and make the Germans believe that an attack on France is dependent on Allied success there. Meanwhile, plans for another imaginary invasion are also underway, this time using real troops. The presence of a British Fourth Army is established in Scotland. Many of the troops involved, including the 3rd Infantry Division, believe they are actually preparing to invade Norway. They even trained rigorously in mountain warfare. To add to the illusion, the Firth of Forth in Scotland is packed with warships and transport craft to be used at Normandy. A carrier-borne aerial reconnaissance of Narvik is carried out in April 1944. Fake radio traffic is broadcast from Edinburgh Castle. Requests for 1,800 ski bindings and other winter supplies reinforce the imaginary Norwegian invasion. Other phony radio messages inquire about the performance of tank engines in sub-zero temperatures. It is all fabricated, and it is all picked up by German radio interceptors. In a brilliant move, deception planners even fill local newspapers with reports of marriages and other social events involving soldiers of the Fourth Army.